All right, Executive Summit, excited to be here. My name is Conor Waddell, as Audrey said. I run Integrated Technology Solutions, which is our pre-sales, delivery, managed services practices are under hybrid infrastructure, security, and digital experience teams. So, I've got a job today, which is to read you in on where we're headed and share some insights into technology areas we expect to see impact in 2025. First, quick story. This morning, we rolled out our AI readiness training for the entire organization. So this was a repackaging and refresh of CDW's opinion and go-to-market. So everybody who's interacting with a client, we want to make sure we have the most up-to-date opinion. It's also the internal use case around governance, acceptable use, and that rolled out so everybody's on the same page in how we use AI. I'm going to talk a little bit about why that's important later. But as a part of that, I did the intro, and I created an avatar. Right? So has anybody here created an avatar? Right? Okay, it's weird. So they have you say a bunch of things that are like in a really kind of excited voice. It records you, and then they put in whatever script that you were going to talk about. So we had AI me kicking off our AI training. So it's kind of interesting. But I did want to assure you that I am currently not a bot. Right? So, all of you humans here, just be assured. That's as good as it's going to get today. The human joke. Bleep blorp. All right, let's keep moving here. No more bleeps, no more blorps. Let's get right into it. All right, so for all of us here today, again, setting the stage for the rest of Executive Summit on Protect, what we're seeing. And, in my view, we are really in I've said this frequently, and it's true every single day moving forward, which is we are truly at the most interesting point in technology that we ever have been before, right? And I think I just have a sense of appreciation about that. It's certainly going to be true tomorrow because innovation's continuing to speed up. However, there's a bit of a paradox here, right? Where on one hand, it's an embarrassment of riches. Things are possible today that have never been possible before. However, the gap between where we are today with legacy infrastructure, with current existing demands, doing regular tasks, and the gulf between that and what's possible gets larger and larger every day. So we as professionals are looking for ways to bridge that gap and helping our teams come up with solutions to be able to make the promise of technology possible, while also realizing we have to go from here to there. So our analysts validate this, right? So on the right-hand side, you see this is Gartner research that goes through, so just checking if you can see it. Depends on your eyesight. But this goes through the top technology outcomes leaders are trying to achieve by vertical. Now, one of the keys to this is intended outcomes, not actual outcomes. That's important because I intended to lose 15 pounds at the beginning of the year. That did not happen. Went the opposite direction. But this is people saying what they would like to have happen with technology investment. It's the usual suspects. So it's improving margins, securing compliance, driving efficiency, revenue, utilization, but generally they group into two main categories, and that's accelerating performance and optimizing costs. And those two areas really will be the backdrop for every tech conversation we're having today. Now, another vector here, so the technology or growth drivers that are enabling those technology outcomes are interesting, right where we're at today. So on one hand, cloud adoption continues apace. So by 2027, we'll have 45% of workloads deployed in cloud, up from, 47% compared to 35% today. So continued adoption, investment, and acceleration into cloud-delivered platforms. At the same time, though, there's this concept around rebalancing public and private infrastructure. How many here had an initiative in the last 10 years that was cloud first or cloud only? Okay. How many then had another leader come in with a different cloud first or cloud only initiative? Anybody? Right? So this happened mainly because the technology continued to improve. Our maturity as operators of those environments continue to improve. And what happened was, like layers of sediment, right, put in over time, our cloud transformation has happened over the last decade plus. What that means is that today, applications that we lifted and shifted, perhaps early days, might have been more fit for purpose for modernization. Same, an application that was too hard, right, or considered too complex to modernize early, might be now is possible. Same, an application that's running steady state in the cloud might be more fit for purpose riding on premise-based infrastructure in a co-location facility on an asset that you depreciate. But inherently, what we know is it isn't, or it'd be really interesting if it was exactly right. And across our industry, it isn't, right? So there's an idea of building an infrastructure that's inherently flexible to be able to consume resources where they best fit. All right, next is we're driving to a transformation within how we develop applications, so low code, no code, cloud native patterns. That in turn is driving 99% of respondents in this survey to say that they're going to be deploying in their application stack or applications internally in their environment that leverage Gen AI capabilities. That in turn, explosion of AI inference and consumption is driving a unseen before amount of capital investment into the infrastructure that powers those investments. So if you put together the current forecast for Google, so for Meta, Oracle, GCP, Azure, AWS. In this year, they're forecasting to put $260 billion in capital to work building out AI infrastructure. Last year, same number. Year before that, $130 billion. That $260 billion is the sum total of those 5 companies' free cash flow for the year. It's a bet the farm investment. And somewhat fueled by confidence, somewhat potentially fueled by fear. So we have a massive set of investments to see this AI transformation through. Then you have customer experience driving, innovations in customer experience driving how we interface with each other, with coworkers, and how we interface with our customers, driving transformation. And we just heard from Katie about security, compliance, and controls being now more and more a part of the fabric of how we operate versus a separate initiative. So as we think about that as the backdrop, we have all of us investing in new technologies to achieve our goals of accelerating performance, reducing cost. There's a common barrier in the middle, and that's friction. So whether you're trying to go faster, spend smarter, friction shows up as complexity, silos, manual work, misalignment. It's technology that's out of sync with how your employees work. It's compute that doesn't get used. It's a password reset that doesn't arrive. And our mission here is to find the friction. So here, though, I would say there's some nuance, right? Not all friction is bad. For some friction, we all collectively, purposely put into the system. Access controls, for one, saying that's friction we put in that keeps people from accessing resources that they shouldn't. Change management can be good friction. Executive approvals ensures business alignment. But there's real problem with unproductive friction. So busy work, delays, outdated tools. This is far more common, and it's friction like this that chews through profit and slows us down. So just as we're thinking here, think about the good and bad friction that exists within your enterprise. For example, in the healthcare industry, we know through research, doctors spend 43% of their time entering patient data into electronic medical record systems, and 13% of their time working with patients. That's bad friction, right? So each of us here has a different amount, a different type, but I would argue everybody here has friction that we ought to reduce. So how do we do that? Right? Within CDW, we've developed a framework, within that framework, a maturity model for how we go about reducing friction within the enterprise. Hitting the 4 topics. First is cyber resilience. This is allowing our teams to innovate freely and move fast by building controls into how we operate, into the IT fabric, so we aren't constantly tripping over controls. Platform engineering is about giving the right infrastructure at the right time to the right person, so you can move fast and be able to self-provision. The future of work removes friction from the human enterprise, which is seamless collaboration, flexible tools, and the right processes, And AI overlays all of them and has tremendous promise for removing the little bits of friction around mundane work. So I'm going to jump into each of these, pop back and forth. I got 3 things I'm going to hit in each. So kind of one is the framework. I'm going to give you how we approach these. I'm going to talk about where we've done that for a client. And then I'm going to give you a hot take, right? So sit down. Thank goodness. You're doing it already. But hopefully I won't offend anybody, but a hot take on what to expect. So with platform engineering, this is the idea of really one of the most impactful ways that we have to remove friction from the developer and IT operator experience. And really, those two combined and getting those two to work together. And at its core, that's about building reusable, automated platforms that make it faster and easier for teams to deploy technology without having to reinvent the wheel at the same time. So for devs, this manifests itself as self-service infrastructure. For operations teams, that manifests itself as reducing repetitive or manual work. And for the business, this allows a connected enterprise to drive consumption of the right resources at the right time with the right economics. So at the right, you'll see what this looks like in practice, which is greenfield builds, automation workflows, and internal in the middle, and then internal developer portals on the right. This looks complex. Think about it. We think more about how we get started on this journey and build towards this end state. So a story here, I talked about healthcare earlier. We had a large hospital system that was acquiring community-based health systems to improve community care. These M&A-driven IT integrations, on average, were taking that client between 3 to 4 years to execute. And the hospital system was doing multiple, because it took 3 to 4 years, they were then stacking up multiple integrations at a time, which then led to a disconnected experience and certainly led to the thwarting of their mission to improve client care for their community. So to solve this, we engaged with that client. We built a greenfield environment in a co-location facility, cloud connected, using CDW's platform engineering tenants, and helped the hospital move to a more flexible environment with dynamic capacity, where they were able to spin up infrastructure quickly and move workloads back and forth as they needed to integrate. This took their time to integrate from 3 to 4 years down to 6 months. That's reducing friction. Now, the hot take, right? So this is don't run for the doors. But it's saying here, the golden age of the cloud-native enterprise is here now, but many will fail. You say, what? Well, so first, before I get into that, when I say cloud-native, if you've been around CDW for the last number of years, you've heard us talk about cloud as a pattern, not a place. I'm not talking about cloud or infrastructure only running in a CSP. Some people are leaving. It's okay. The only running in a CSP. I knew it might happen. It's the risk you take when you get provocative on stage. Platform engineering, I'm out. So, so it's saying we're using the patterns and practices of the cloud, right, to deploy infrastructure in a client's environment. So cloud-native application development, automation, self-service. But what's happening is enterprises, and this isn't new, many of you are doing this, we're pouring time, effort, and energy into building these platforms. So these are developer portals, golden paths, self-service infrastructure, all in the name of speed, scale, and better developer experience. Now, the challenge we have is that these are being treated like IT projects in and of themselves. So we're deploying a tool and expecting a better experience. And the key to success in this space is treating this like a product in product development. So let me try and land this in a slightly different way. Wiz just got purchased by GCP, or intent to purchase, for over $30 billion, right? Been in existence less than 5 years. And listen to, there's a lot of dynamics, right, around great execution, trusted founders, vision, but really one of the things on why is because the experience using their platform was great. They kept true to how people were utilizing the technology, and they provided an intuitive, excellent customer experience. And when you think about how we're deploying infrastructure back to our organizations, so back to our IT operators, back to our developers, It's thinking about that. So it's thinking about how do we provide a truly excellent experience over time, leveraging this confluence of tools and embarrassment of riches that we have to produce an outcome. So think again, product owners, user research, roadmaps. If we don't do that, we'll see adoption challenges, fragmented tooling, we'll see ROI spike, and these projects will tip over. So again, think of Wiz in your environment and that experience as you deploy this experience back to your teams. All right, future of work. Think about this here not as a trend, as we've talked about it, but more as a strategic capability. So this is about creating an environment for your employees and your customers that's a magnet, that draws people in, right? That makes them want to experience working with you. And just like I talked about the platform engineering as a framework, so too do we have a framework in a connected ecosystem around the future of work. A lot of times, like talk about future work, like that's calling or web conferencing or video. And yes, yeah, it is. Those things are connected, but really this spans security, applications, devices, and infrastructure, all supported by lifecycle management to keep things running smoothly. And if I go back to that Wiz example, to create an excellent customer experience both internally and externally. So it's about giving employees and your customers the right tools at the right time, in the right context without unnecessary friction. So again, where we've done this, global manufacturer did what most had happened to them, what happened to all of us, right? So with the COVID-19 pandemic, had an existing set of infrastructure, forced to go remote to continue operations. What that did then was create a gulf or a gap when we went back to hybrid work between the expectations of their end users and the infrastructure they had deployed. So this was a fragmented experience. Tools didn't work together. Multiple tools that existed before had been implemented quickly. And again, working with CDW, going against that roadmap I showed you, allowed us to create and remake the employee experience. So we consolidated on a single platform. We also optimized their cloud spend. We created a new onboarding experience that managed their devices. We upgraded their workers to the most current AI-enabled set of infrastructure, so laptops, and then rolled out Copilot to drive insight to their broader enterprise, which ended up creating one connected organization. All right, hot take. Looks like you're ready. You're rolling with me now on these hot takes, I can tell. All right, so this is going to appear like I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth. I just talked about automation. It's great, embrace it, right? But what we are watching right now is experiences being over-automated or automated for the sake of cost. And if you think about this in how you experience technology, again, I'm asking you right now to think about your own experience. Do you have a situation where a brand you're loyal to attempted to automate a customer experience that degraded that experience? So I have one, an airline, travel a fair amount. But they had it once you hit a certain number of miles on a given year, you get access to a concierge platform, right? You call in any question, like lost a bag, need to be rebooked, and a human would help you. That got automated in the pursuit of a better experience. But now when you call in, you lose the human touch. It actually degrades and reduces that loyalty point that I once had. So as you think about how you're leveraging CX and AI capabilities to interface with your customers, this is not a mandate or saying we shouldn't, right? We, with technology, have the ability to do things better than we ever had before. However, what we ought to do, right, what CDW recommends, and again, going back to our approach, is we take a user-based approach. We think about what is the optimal experience to interface with that end user? How do we best deliver services? You're leveraging all the technology and touch points we have today to improve experience. And from there, you build the set of capabilities. So just a watchword, we're going to see value driven out through automation. It's up to us together to leverage the tools for good, not for evil, on collaboration, right? So with cyber resilience, we're seeing a massive shift in urgency and investment. And the goal here is shifting from protection to response and recovery. So once again, a framework that we follow is thinking about this, again, in a full life cycle capability. So not a single product, although we do deploy those products, but being able to operate with constant disruption and not just preparing for a single breach. So we have an approach around strategy, design, response, recovery, all built to reduce breach impact and speed response. When we do this, it takes the pressure off the individual employees to follow individual controls, because what they're doing is built into the fabric of how they operate with their IT equipment, their IT infrastructure. That's building a safety net versus building a safety harness. So with this, we have again, another global customer. They had an opportunity through an infrastructure refresh to make some changes. So this client had an existing disaster recovery setup that wasn't fit for purpose. If the recovery time was too long, if they went down, they'd lose millions of dollars. It was not acceptable. They also had a DR environment that was ready for refresh. And we leveraged that upgrade of the DR environment to build in both disaster recovery and cyber recovery. So by doing that, built out a new recovery environments, including a clean room, recovery room, and capacity specifically designed for resilient scenarios, and work with them to then design recovery workflows and automation patterns to recover. All right, hot take here. We talk a lot about security with AI. It's kind of intuitive, right? Saying, okay, well, in order, if the threat actors are going to use AI to drive increased velocity and sophistication of attacks, so too do we need to respond by leveraging AI capabilities and the security platforms we use, right? And that is, of course, is a thing, right? And as we think about that, AI will play a critical role in helping us respond to and mitigate risk. However, I want you again, think about your organization. Think about that guy or that gal who's in, sales. What is it they're putting into ChatGPT right now? Anybody think that might be a little nervous about that? Right, so usage of ChatGPT, thinking about PII, PHI, corporate IP being put into public models, including models like DeepSeek, right, where we quickly lose control of where that information lives and how it's used. It gets worse once you stack inference upon, AI starts making decisions and asking questions, you lose access to the source of that data. So understanding where AI lives and mitigating that risk will be an important task for us. All right, I'm going to land us on AI here. So if you, again, over the last kind of 12 months, we've coalesced around a model around AI as a feature, product, and factory. AI as a feature, as we just heard again from Katie, with having one of the first things rolling out being Copilot adoption. These are the AI capabilities that are built on existing platforms. So thinking about Adobe, Salesforce, your Microsoft stack with Copilots, ServiceNow. Lowest barrier of adoption, obviously, because you already own the platform. Excellent spot to get value. On the far end, some of you here in this room are driving innovation on models, right? So you're driving the business advantage or competitive advantage by creating a difference in how these models are applied and used. That is, traditionally in biotech, in large financial services, the federal government, high-end, so federal government. In the middle, though, and where we're headed, is AI as a product. This is where we have foundational models allowing us to, and consumed on referential architectures, that allow us to bring our data and our questions to the problem. And we're going to see that commoditize, become simpler and more accessible over the next 6 to 12 months. Now, the thing we hear now, as I talked about, all the investment that's going into the hyperscalers, that's where a lot of the buzz is today, and it ought to be, because many AIs are in test, right? 4 out of 5 AI pilots fail, whatever the stat is. So, but the idea here is that there's different infrastructure for different use case. Right? So hyperscalers, good for testing small-scale AI. Server OEM, or capitalized equipment, better for large-scale AI, inference at scale. GPU clouds, better specific use cases or on-ramps. Now the idea here, or the idea that I'll give you, right, is that CDW recommends building a fabric for AI. So interconnected fabric that allows you to live with the life cycle of that AI workload, from taking it from CSP, potentially moving it into premise-based infrastructure, bursting into GPU cloud, and giving yourself the capability to do that. Now why? Right, it's because the economics are interesting. Think about why cloud economics work. Because you have commoditized hardware. AI hardware is all NVIDIA under the covers. It's not commoditized. Because you oversubscribe. Can't oversubscribe AI hardware in the cloud. It's dedicated instances, specific infrastructure you're tied to. It's newest infrastructure. It's not the AI infrastructure that's deployed in the cloud providers. You can get newer equipment if you buy a bill of materials tomorrow. So it's you build, though, it's not one or better is right. It's that you build what's right for your business and build a connected environment. So the future belongs to organizations that can operate without friction. And it is my pleasure here, right, to welcome you again to the IT Summit for CDW. We believe we are staying committed to our core, which is being the IT solutions provider to provide outcomes to each of you and align the hardware, software, services, and cloud to be able to achieve those outcomes. We're doubling down in innovation, specifically in the 4 areas I talked about today, but across our portfolio. And last, as we think about transformation and everything I talked about spanning multiple areas of our environment, we've invested in the resource that bring together multi-platform and programmatic execution for each of you. With that, everybody, thank you for your time. Have a fantastic IT Summit, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks.